Michael Nacey telling us about his career at MIT
Harold
and
McAleer asked
GenRad.
me how I went to work at the General Radio Company. And that, I was able to tell him the smartest thing I ever did enabled me to go to General Radio. When I was a junior at MIT, I needed a summer job. And I went to the MIT Alumni Placement Office, and there was a woman running it named Evelyn Yates. And I said, Mrs. Yates, I'd like to work in New Jersey because that's near my then girlfriend. And she got me a job at the Worthington Corporation, which was in New Jersey. Well, after I graduated from MIT, I was obligated to enter the ROT. I had been in the ROTC program, so I was obligated to go into the Army for 2 years. And I was in the Army Security Agency, so they sent me to Eritrea in Eastern Africa, where we had a radio intercept station on top of a 7,500-foot mountain. We had perfect weather, and it was a bounce point for signals from Siberia, so we could capture all the traffic from the Russian nuclear plants that were located behind the Ural Mountains. But anyway, after 2 years, I got out of the service, and I came back to Boston, and I decided I'd better get a job. And I went again to see my friend Evelyn Yates, and she had a photographic memory. She remembered everything about me. You were captain of the MIT basketball team. I got you a job in New Jersey. You were a member of the Theta Delta Chi fraternity, and I was amazed. And she said, well, I'll set you up, and she arranged for 3 interviews. And one was General Radio, one was Raytheon, and one was another technical company. At General Radio, I was interviewed by Errol Locke, who was the then president, and Frank Tucker, who was the senior VP in finance, and a wonderful guy named John Quackenboss, who I ended up going to work for.
Yeah.
Well, I kept interviewing people at MIT, and whenever I went there, I'd call Evelyn Yates in advance and say, how about having lunch with me? So we did that. She was 10 years older than I am, and she was a spinster. Her husband had died when she was 27 years old. He had a routine hernia operation and died of an infection, which you can't even imagine today. But anyway, so about 13 years after I joined General Radio, Evelyn Yates called me from the MIT Alumni Placement Office, says, I have the perfect job for you. You have to go to work for Bolt Brannick and Newman. And she told me what the job involved, and it was a high science place in Cambridge. So I went in, really not to interview, but to be interviewed. They were sold by her that they had to hire me, and so it was the easiest thing I ever did. And so I went and decided the job was perfect, and went there as a vice president. Well, I'd been working there about a couple of years, when one day I'd had a secretary, I told her, always open my mail, and, if it's from a girlfriend, don't tell anybody, but open my mail and tell me what I should look at. And so one day she came in and she said, you have a letter that I think is insulting. And I said, oh really? I said, what does it say? She said, well, it's from a woman named Yates, and she said that she was preparing her will and needed a executor, and she thought it should be a lawyer with a modicum of intelligence, and immediately thought of me. And I said, well, you have to know the author. And so I became Evelyn Yates' executor. She was old when at 82, she entered a home, Quaker assisted living home up near Hanover, New Hampshire. And I used to go up there, every 2 or 3 months to visit her, and also to check in that they were doing things right. And they were. I've never been to a place where you walked in and everything was perfect. The lawns were mowed, the people were friendly, the rooms were clean. It was really a remarkable thing to me and she finally died, and of course I took care of her possessions. She was a woman with considerable assets, and her family, we split it among 3 family members. So that was my story about how I went to General Radio, but also one of the smartest things I ever did in my life was to make a good friend of the director of the Alumni Placement Office.
Great.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Mike. Pretty good.
Isn't that odd, though? I mean, you can't imagine getting this goddamn letter from this woman. I thought I needed someone with a modicum of intelligence and immediately thought of you.
Wow. Great.
John Twetshead was the father of signal detection theory, and he was a handsome man. And one day he came into my office to see me, and on the way in he said hello to her, and came in, and we talked, and then he left. And this lovely woman who was my secretary came in and said, "He must think I'm a total moron." And I said, "Well, why is that?" He said, "But when he comes in, I think he's so handsome that I can't breathe, and I've never been able to say a word to him."
Wow. Wow. Pretty good.
But anyway, John was a terrific guy. And Harold, one time I was up at the alumni meeting at alumni, and I knew Harold because I used to play tennis with him. And I didn't know he was a wealthy guy, and I watched all the people from MIT are crowding around him, and paying very little attention to me and a lot of attention to Harold Brown. And so Harold, I said, "You went to MIT, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah, I went there as an undergraduate." And he said, "I applied to the graduate school, but they didn't think I had any business acumen, and so they didn't let me in." He said, "But now every couple of years I give them $1 million to show them I was wrong." I said, "Boy, that's getting back at him, Harold."
Great.
He's serious about that.
Yeah, sure.
I show him up. I give him $1 million.
Yeah,
from time to
great.
time.
Yeah.
All I could think of, boy, that's getting him, Harold.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Sinclair and Dick Frank both said, "Oh, we don't think they infringe. What they did is somewhat different." Well, Bob Rhines treated them like two little kids. "I thought you had a technical education. Didn't you two go to MIT? What did you learn there? Anything?" Then this lawyer gets up to the blackboard and he starts drawing circuit diagrams.
Yeah.
Here's Hewlett Packard's, what they've done. Here's ours. And it's obvious to anyone who ever went to school that they infringe.
Yeah.
And then, much to my amazement, Sinclair and Dick Frank said, "Well, I guess you're right."
Pretty good, huh?
And then he was the patent attorney at Bolt, Brannigan and Newman, and I ran that for years.
Yeah.
And I saw him do the same thing in all kinds of fields.
Yeah.
I saw him doing it we had the space layer damping patent that was used to quiet submarine shells. You don't want submarines that vibrate.
Yeah.
It makes signals that people can pick up all over the world.
Yeah.
And Howard Head was a great engineer, and he built Head skis. And guess what? He doesn't want skis to vibrate. And we got a pair and cut it in half, and Ryan said, "Well, they infringe our space layer damping patent." And Ed Kerwin, who was the guy who wrote the patent, said, "Oh, I don't think so." And Rhines, without looking, said, "Read claim 16. Kerwin gets the patent out and reads 16. He said, "Yeah, that covers it, but I didn't do that." And Rhines says, "Of course you did, I did."
Yeah.
He writes the patent, he's doing all the
Sure.
permutations and combinations,
Yeah.
and he's throwing in those of his own.
Wow, huh?
And I saw him do it in other fields too.
Yeah.
And then I
Smart guy.
realized many years later that I knew he was trained in science, but I didn't realize he was the #1 student in the class in 42. And
Wow.
his father, who practiced law till he was 94, always said Bob would be a good lawyer if he'd only concentrate on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bob won an Emmy Award, he wrote a Broadway musical.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, huh?
Yeah, we talk about an interesting guy.
Yeah.
I love the.
Where did he live?
He lived at Harbor Towers. He there are two big buildings at Harbor Towers, and he was in one. He had combined apartments. He was within walking distance of his law office, so that was the reason. But he could get to it.
Rhines and Rhines?
Yeah, Rhines and Rhines was, in those days, the patent attorneys all were in separate companies. Nowadays, that's not the way they do it. Every big law firm has intellectual
Yeah,
property. They
yeah.
thought they were giving away too much business to the patent
Yeah.
lawyers, and so they brought them in-house.
Yeah,
But when I was first involved, they were always separate firms that are just patent and intellectual property people. But no, he was a very clever guy. He told me one time on acoustical surgical techniques that he had something like 20 patents of his own in that area.
wow.
What he did one day, we were going to talk about that with a couple of famous, really good scientists, and Bob had told me, he called me, he said, get Shapiro to do a patent search down in Washington and let me see what he comes up with. So Shapiro comes up with a big stack of patents like this. Rhines came in before the meeting, goes through these damn things. Go through all of them. Okay, let's go to the meeting. So he gets to the meeting, and he said there are three techniques. There are acoustical high choppers, as exemplified, and he rattles off about 5 patents, and then there's another way that's exemplified by these 6. And there, everybody's agreeing with him, and here's what we've done, which is totally different. And I leave, and when we got back, I said, Bob, what the hell are you doing? I said, you come into the office, you look at the patents for 5 minutes, and you go off and give a lecture on it. He said, well, didn't I tell you? He said, I have a whole bunch of patents in that field. He said, I just wanted to see if Shapiro came up with something new. You know.
Yeah. No, I remember that picture of Henry Hall holding the check from Hewlett Packard. How big was the check? It was a big number, either $1 million or 100,000. It was a big number to us in those days.
Well, all the guys, it was great with Rhines, because if you were a technical guy, you knew that he knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
You didn't have to start saying, now, are you familiar with such and such? You just talked, and you knew this guy.
Yeah.
And you'd get up and say thanks and leave.
Yeah. Now, Henry is still with it down in Florida, down at that peninsula for the old folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of it.
And he was my example
Yeah.
of why you're working for the company for 24 hours a day. He had the invention, inventive idea for that special null detector or whatever the hell it was, in taking a shower
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
And I always use that as the example. You know, people say, well, I only invent at home. No.
The company owns it.
The
Right.
company owns it.
Right.
You can't pull that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy at BBN said the government never stops funding my work because in the periods that they aren't funding, I make all kinds of clever inventions.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it was, yeah.
Anybody still left?
Where?
Bo Beranek, Newman.
You know, Bob Newman was my favorite person. What a terrific guy. And he came to work when he was 65, worked on a project with his guys, went home and was dead a couple hours later.
Wow. Yeah.
Beranek lived to 103.
Yeah, I knew him, of course, from his association with GenRad.
Yeah. And
But-
that helped me get a job.
And Bolton, wasn't he in Lincoln here?
Yeah, he lived in Lincoln.
Yeah.
But Beranek consulted with Arnold Peterson a lot. And I used to commute with Arnold Peterson, so I'm sure when they went to check my references before I went to work at BBN,
Yeah.
I knew Beranek knew Arnold well.
Yeah.
And Arnold and I were good friends.
Sure.
So I thought, he would commute by bus. I was living in Cleveland Circle, and I'd get out. I don't know where he lived, but I never was at his house. But he'd get out and we'd talk all the way in.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
No, that was
So you're going to this GR thing that's coming up?
yeah.
I can't stay. I got to come back here and video a talk, so I'll only be there for the business
I
meeting.
don't know many of the guys. I hired a few of them, Dave Berland and Henry Pasco and the kid who went to work with John Clayton. I saved him. He came to a couple of meetings. I don't know what he ended up doing there, but the first day this kid comes in, and you know John Clayton was going to get him drunk, and I was right down the hall from John and Fred Van Veen, and I went down and said, "No, you come with me." And Clayton was digging out it for a bottle and drawer, for God's sake.
Yep.
I thought that's a good start for some kid out
Yep.
of Northeastern.
Yeah,
To meet a senior person and the guy's having booze in the middle of the
yeah,
afternoon.
yeah,
Gee, that was funny.
yeah.
What's that kid's name? I met him at one of the.
Where'd he work?
Well, I think he moved from Clayton's group. I think he started out doing technical writing, but I think he moved somewhere else. I don't know. But he came up.
Previtt? Peter Previtt?
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows up at the luncheon. He was at the last GI luncheon.
Peter Previtt.
Peter Previtt, yeah.
Yeah, he was a young kid, and I don't know where he ended up working, but
Yeah, still working, as a matter of fact. Still a sales rep, I think.
yeah.
Different companies, yeah. Yeah, Peter Previtt.
Well, it was good because, you know, I got to know a lot of people because, you know, I went to all the offices, you know, so I got to know the people out there.
Yeah,
And
yeah. A
my
lot of-
back-end boss was a good guy. You know, I thought he was a typical boss, and boy, was I ever wrong. One time, Charlie Carey wanted us to do something, and he invited the two of us in to make a presentation. And John told Pierce what I think we should do. And Charlie Carey said to me, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I don't think I'd do that." And I went through it, and Charlie Carey said, "Gee, that's great, let's do that." And we left. And John Quackenboss said, "Good, you did a good job, thanks." And I thought, now that's a typical boss. And then I found out, you know, a lot of bosses try to get you fired
Sure,
for in front of the president of the company,
Yeah, yeah.
disagreeing with him, and not only that, but the president takes your ideas rather than
Yeah, yeah,
Quack didn't care. He's a smart
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, good guy.
He just wanted to get the right answer. He didn't care.
yeah. Yeah. All right, reminiscing with Mike Nacey.
Well, thanks, and Harold, and I appreciate your spending the time.
Good.
If there's someplace around here I could buy you coffee, we could do that, or
No, we could go get a cup, or you can come home with me, whatever you like. How do you stop this?
he's gonna run for